Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to week 6. Today, we are going to be looking at understanding typography, grid, and spacing. So, this week, this is what we are going to be learning about. And last week, I think last week was about understanding colors, yes. So, and by now, I want to believe we now understand, the basics, the foundation of color, and how we can apply them, right? The uses, and some of the things around color itself. I want to be sure that right now we now have that little understanding, and from there we can build our knowledge of what we learned last week. So this week, just like I said earlier, it's understanding typography, grid, and spacing. So, as usual, we have 3 point agenda. So, let's talk about what we are going to be doing this week. Um, if you don't know what typography is simply the fonts, the letters. For example, what you can read on the screen is is typography, right? So when we're talking about typography, it's letter, text, what you can read. So now, um, typography has different sections, right? We have different types of typography. We have serif, we have sans serif, we have typescript, we have I think there are about six. We have yeah, like I can't remember some of them, but we have different types. So the most popular one or common one that you see out there is sans serif and serif, right? They are like the most common ones that you see out there. So you are going to be learning all of these things about typefaces, then down to fonts. So now under sans serif, for example, we now have different fonts under it. So you are going to be learning about all of these things, right, in the material I'm going to be sending to us, and the YouTube video. So other things that we're also going to be looking at is grid. So grid is the layouts when you're designing, let's say, mobile or web. It's like all these reddish line. So in the tutorial also, like in the material I'm going to send it to us, videos, we are going to be seeing all of these things. So all of these are very, very important for us to understand when we are before we even start to design UI. Before you even start to say, oh, let me start drawing shape, let me start, putting my text. You need to understand how to set the grid. So in getting to know about grid is the margin, right? What should you set as margin for your web? What should you set as margin for your mobile? The grid system. The Are you going to be using a 4 point grid system? Are you going to be using a 8 point? All of these things, right? You need to understand it. So another thing is spacing. Spacing and grid, they go hand in hand, and even with typography, they go hand in hand because when you're setting your um, type, for example, let me just quickly go to Figma. Okay, let me go. Yeah. So for example, let me just bring in a text. Let me look at typeface. So when you look at this text section on Figma, you can see this is where you select the fonts, right? This is where you select the um, the regular, the medium, the weights. This is the font weights. These are the font weights, as you can see, you know, regular, how thick you want it to be, and they have their uses, right? This is where you select the font size. If you want to increase it, if you want to reduce it, right? This is what we call the line height. So this is the line height. This too, you get to understand the proportion, right? The figures you should use for the line height. This is the paragraphs spacing. So this is what we mean by paragraph stating. So let's say you are done typing, right, and you click enter, and let's say you type something else, right? Um, you want a space between this, right? So this is what we call paragraph spacing. So let's say this is default to 0. So let's say 24. You can see. So there are different ways you can use. There are different ways. So we're going to understand. So this week we're going to get to understand how to set all of these things. This is the auto width. If you want it to be auto width, this is fixed. If you want it to be auto width, so that you can hug each other. This is the auto height. This is the fixed height. If you want it to be auto height, this is if you want to have a fixed height and fixed width, then you can come here, type in the value. But most of the time, you won't be using this. You'll be using this often, right? This is the alignment. If you want to align, for example, let me use fixed height. You want to align to the center, to the right, and to the left. And this is line. This is the if you want to align to the top, middle, and bottom. For example, this is the top, this is the bottom, and this is the middle. Also, when you open this 3 icon, you're also going to be learning, resizing. It's still the same as this, right? Alignment is still the same as this guy here. Decoration is do you want it to be underlined? Do you want it to be strike through? The cases, do you want it to be just the way you type it, right? Do you want it to be capital letter this way? Do you want it to be small letter or do you want it to be first, letter capitalized? All of these things, vertical, lists, you are going to explore all of these things, right? You do another one is truncate. So truncate is, for example, this needs to be in fixed height, a fixed width. So let me remove this guy. So let's say I type typeface, and I type another one, typeface. So now if I should truncate, can you see what happens? It's going to, you are going to see this dot line. Let me remove this guy. So you are going to see this dot line this way. So that is what we call truncate. So all of these things you are going to learn about them this week. So the other part is the grid. So let me just quickly show us the grid. This is the grid. When you click on this guy, you can see these light red lines. So when you come here, when you click on column, you can see is in column. So if you adjust it, for example, let's say this is a mobile screen. So mobile, most of the time we use 16. So you can see mobile. The gutter, this is the gutter inside here. Let's say 16 also. And you want this to be 6, or you want this to be let's say 5. Let me use the normal. Let me use a normal screen size 7.5. Okay, something like this. So that is column. So if you want to do for roll, you bring in another one. You come here, you adjust it to roll. And let's say you want to do 16 also, or you want to do 4. All of these things we are going to be learning about it. So or you can do auto. So what this means is that when I'm moving this guy, you can see that the line, like, it's going to snap to the grid. So all of these things we are going to learn about everything this week, right? So this is really helpful when you're designing. Like, it helps you stay on, like, it helps for alignment, right? So that you won't have something like this when designing where it's not well aligned. You can see this is not well aligned, but if you are using grid, it's going to snap. You can see it. And another alternative, for some people, they don't use grid. They are so good that the only thing they do is just to use ruler. They just set the ruler. They make sure that okay, the positioning they want is good. They set ruler, and they are good to go. So for example, let's say this is where they want to put it. So when you drag it here, it's going to snap. You can see, and you know, if you want to bring another ruler for the top, So for some people, they love using ruler as against grid. So you get to understand, as you keep learning, you get to understand all of these things. And the last one, spacing. Spacing works together with grid, like I said. All this space here is what we call spacing. Um, you are going to get to learn about all of these things. So I don't want to like go deep, so it won't look like I'm giving you guys, tutorial. But what I've showed us now, I believe it has given us like a background knowledge of what we are going to be getting into, right? So, that's everything that we need to learn this week. Um, okay, resources. I'll be sharing the resources once I'm done with the meeting today. We should be expecting it like tonight. I'll be sharing the resources, and yeah, I think if you have any question, you can drop it now in the live chat, and if you need to request the mic, you can also do that. So if you have questions as regard, last week, um, what we talked about, what we learned last week, or if you have question as regards, what we are going to learn this week, you can just share it in the live chat, or if you need to request a mic, you can also do that. We have just 6 minutes to do that because I need to jump on a call with the other guys by 6:30. All right, please. Okay, Sonia, you can unmute and ask your question. Sonia Olugui, your hand is raised. You can ask your question, please. Okay. Um, I think you unraised your hand. So if you have any question, guys, and if there are no questions, just also drop it in the chat so that we know um next thing to do. If okay. Abayomi said, thanks for sharing your experience. All right, thank you, Abayomi. Thank you for that. Jola said, please, how do we know the type of typography we use for a design? Yes, like I said, everything we are going to learn about everything, this week, right? The type of typeface that we're going to use, the type of fonts we are going to use that is ideal for a project. You are going to learn about everything. So when I send the materials, YouTube video, when I send links to the material, it's going to guide us, it's going to give us the background knowledge on what we need to know about typography, at large. Abarami said, I think you need to give us or create a group work so that all participants can partake. Yes, obviously. We've not gotten to that part yet, right? But I think now that we are diving into some practical phase, like I said, when we started, I think it was color. Yes, when we started color, which was last week, I said we are going to be making use of Figma. No, I think it was when we started learning about tools in Figma that I said we are now getting to the practical part where you need to actually, you know, put all these things into practice. Go to Figma, learn how to use those tools, right? Also for colors, I expected us when we're learning color to also go to Figma, try to, do what the everything you watch in the video, right? All the practical stuff you watch, you should try to replicate it. Try to follow along with the tutor, and that way you get to learn, right? Also, for this week, when you are watching videos on the typography, you need to also learn, right? Put it into practice. What you are being taught and all those things. So, you know, that's the practical part. It has started already. So we need to start to practicalize all those things, get familiar with how to create them, and um, this week I'm going to be coming up with um, like an assignment, right, on what we need to do. For example, I can say, okay, you guys should create like a style guide, right? Creating typography, like typography skill for style guide. For example, I can say, okay, create header, like a header text and body text, and I will give you specification for what should be the line height, what should be the line space, all of these things, right? So that's how I'm going to go. So I'm going to make it in a way that is going to cover what you've already learned, right? Because all of this foundation, we need to make sure we know how to create these things, right? We need to make sure, okay, we know how to create a typography, how to set a font. We need to make sure we know how to pick the right color. You understand? So all of these are very, very crucial before we even start to design UI. Because now, if you look at designing UI, for example, let's say this particular screen that you can see, question and answer and all that. Now, if you don't have any knowledge about color, any knowledge about typography, or any knowledge about the principles of design, you will just go to Figma and you will just pick the text and be doing what you think is right, based on what you feel is right, not based on what is right, right? But now that you've already know, now you know emphasis, you know the principles of design, you know color, right? This week we are going to learn about typography. Now you can be confident to say that, okay, what I'm doing now, I actually know, I have an idea, right? I know it, and from there I can build up to it. So now, if you look at this my screen, look at this Q&A section and look at the text beneath it, you can see that in part of the principles of design, who can tell me the particular principles of designs that talks about this guy, this Q&A section and this text here? Let me even see if we actually followed everything that we've been learning. So let me repeat the question again. If you look at this Q&A section and the text beneath it that says, please drop your question, which particular principles of design talks about this? The bigger text and the smaller text beneath it. Which particular principles of design talk about this, that you should note it in your design? Okay, hierarchy. Nofisa said hierarchy. Hierarchy is one. There is one other one. Hierarchy is very correct. It is one. That is the way you want the content to show. Which one do you want the user to see first? Then the second one, right? You can see the first one is big, the second one is now small. There's another one. Others, Jolayemi, Abayomi, I want you guys to chip in. I can say that Nofisa actually, understand. Yes, thank you, Jolayemi. Emphasis. You can see the question and answer has the emphasis. That's where I lay the emphasis. You can see that when you look at my screen, the first thing your eye go to is the question and answer before you now goes to the text, before you can now see the question mark and all those things. So I like, thank you guys. Now I have the confidence that we've been following up everything that we've been learning, right? And you can say that with the principle of designs alone, you getting to understand principle of design, you get to build confidence when designing. You know the right thing to do based on these principles. You know what to do, you know what you shouldn't do, right? So that is why it's important we know this foundation. It's just like you want to build a house. You can't just jump into plastering, or jump into painting, or jump into interior decoration. What's the first thing you are going to do? The first thing is you are going to build your foundation. That is, they are going to build your foundation, cast it, then you start to lay your blocks before you get to plastering. So it has to be a gradual process. That's why if you see some people that start learning UI UX or product design, and they start to go into Figma, at the end of the day, the things that they didn't take their time to learn, it will show in their design, and they don't have a choice. They will always go back to learn those things, and it's not the best way to learn. You need to start from the basics, and before you know, it will take time, right? But before you know, when you get to Figma to now design, it's going to be very easy, because all of these things, color, you understand color. You're not just using color based on vibes. You're not just using color and typography based on vibes. You're not just placing your text or your object based on vibe. You know that, okay, if I want to communicate, if I want to communicate a particular thing, I need to lay emphasis on it. I need to use hierarchy. I need to use repetition. I need to use rhythm. I need to use contrast. Like, all of these things. So design is going to be easy. You know that alignment is key. You can see this guy here is aligned. you know all of these things, and boom, your design will look good, right? So I appreciate the fact that we are all learning, right? We are all taking our time, and it can only get better. By the end of this, cohorts, I'm very sure that most of us, would have improved greatly. Most of us would have learned so much. Thank you, everyone. Bye, guys.